Good evening, viewers. We are back in the Idea Factory platform with another episode of the orbit shifting, the effects of orbit shifting on building a long-lasting organization. As last time, we have with us Executive and Leadership Coach Mr. Sushant Sharma, and I'll be in a discussion with him to discuss on various aspects of orbit shifting. In the last episode, we have started upon the topic of people exiting organizations within 6 months' time, and what can be done to improve the retention of people in the organization. And we started discussion on the topic of orbit shifting and how job satisfaction can help retain people over a longer period of time. We will continue the discussion in this program today. My first question to Mr. Sushant Sharma is, Mr. Sharma, based on our last discussion, can orbit shifting resolve some of the human challenges in building a long-lasting organization?
Yes, definitely, Mr. Majumdar. I totally agree with what you said. Yes, orbit shifting can help to handle these, problems. What the challenges an organization face in a long term. Like it depends on the what is the vision of the promoter also, the vision and the kind of a thought process he has once he is employing, and how much he values the employees of his company as an asset, because it's like, first the employee comes, then the customer comes. So we need to pay equal importance. The first is employee first, employer customer second. So that, keeping that in mind, organizations need to reskill and upskill their workforce. Reskilling is so very important. They have to fundamentally repurpose them, if I say. Now, what does it mean by repurpose them? Like, it's a mind-blowing breakthrough business opportunities and possibilities can be worked about. Once the business idea is there, once the employees are valued properly, and they are made to feel that they are the stakeholders in the company. So once that is important, the stakeholders, that they made believe that yes, you are going to play the important role, and then they will own up. A sense of ownership develops, which is very important actually, because otherwise the mundane day-to-day tasks can be taken care of by the AI also.
Yeah, hi, Abhi. Yeah, hi, Abhi.
Abhi,
I'm starting.
and the kind of question. Okay. See, what we are discussing is how orbit shifting can help you to meet the challenges in an organization, and how build organization capacity can be built, keeping that orbit shifting in mind. So organizations need to reskill and upskill their workforce. They need to give confidence to the employees that they are the stakeholders, and because of them, the company exists. They need to make them believe that, because it's always employee first, customer second. That is the kind of a vision the promoter need to have when it comes to handling of their employees. So keeping that in mind, right, because otherwise what happens, the day-to-day functions can be taken by the wired organism also, which is called, AI, bots and machines floating over clouds. Now it's time to unleash the organization and people towards making orbit shifts. Now the organism is getting lots and lots of affection from business and spreading fast. The possibility of a full-blown operation seems very real. Find it unadulterating thought. Like any other, if I talk about, give me like given the any successful pursuit of an innovation agenda manifesting as a differentiated offerings, processes, business model, or strategy is fundamentally a human endeavor. So a successful innovation pursuit calls for having the mindset of a challenger. So we need to, employer has to give a lot of importance to the employee. We need to have a long-term planning in terms of their growth, their progress, their vision, and like where do they see them, their employees 2 years from the line, 5 years down the line. The idea is to make them remain in the organization for a longer time. So keeping that in mind, I think that orbit shifting plays a very important role. So continuing from there, if I talked about, can you give me some real life examples of orbit shifting, Mr. Majumdar?
Right. I think you are actually right because it's not an easy job to start the process of orbit shifting in a regular organization. And whatever
Mm,
examples that we see today are especially by people who have, do not do a regular job. Okay, typically
mm,
examples that I can draw from the experiences that I have are people who do not do a regular job, but there is one or two people who have actually excelled from the jobs that they have done. And the first name that comes to my mind is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who has played multiple roles in his lifetime and has enriched each one of these roles. For example, he was a space scientist in ISRO and has taken the space research to such a high level. On top of that, in politics, he became the president of India. Uh, in addition, he was a very good teacher and was teaching across the nation throughout his life. And as we all know, he was also an author who wrote about 25 books to spread knowledge amongst the younger generation, to share his knowledge to the for the people of India. So this is actually the first, I mean, the perhaps the best example that we can talk of orbit shifting of someone who otherwise would have done a normal regular job and would stuck to that. But here we see he's taken up four different roles, and all these roles he's enriched in such a way that we can remember his name on top of each of the roles that he's taken up. Other than that, there are so many examples in everyday life. I think mostly from the movie sector because they are the people who get the maximum prominence. The name that comes to my mind is Aparna Sen of Bengal, who was quite disillusioned with the kind of acting that was or the films that was offered to her. And midway through her career, she shifted gears and she went into movie direction, and then she went into movie production later on, and made a very big name over it. She got a number of national, international awards for it, and she even became the magazine editors of some of Bengali magazines, which are doing very well. Even today, she is being revered or respected as someone who has played multiple roles in her lifetime, and that's how she enriched our lives in that. Of course, we can also take the name of our legend, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, who also had to redefine himself in the midway through his life to get on hold. And we all know that even till the age of 80 today, he is, relevant, he is contemporary, and he's playing different roles today. So there are so many. Even another name that comes to our mind is Kapil Sharma, who may not have orbit shifted, but the kind of, talent discovery that has happened to him at the right age, and he has become a national figure. His career has taken a different, direction. Imagine a show being named after someone, and he did not have a presidency. He doesn't come from the background. He doesn't have any backing, and a whole show is being planned in the name of him. And we can clearly see the kind of impact his show has on people. So these are quite a few names who have done today work or are doing to and have gone beyond the regular roles. And had they been doing regular roles, they wouldn't have been so famous or so well known today. But here, that while these names are all from people who, mostly other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, all the names are basically from people who have left their jobs. So the real challenge is to bring in this concept into the job market or to organizations, and to make people, achieve their, goals in life and their, happiness in life within the organization. I think that becomes the bigger challenge. And my next question to Mr. Sushant is, Mr. Sushant, if you can, if you can tell us how should organizations evolve an orbit shifting climate in their culture?
yes. Yes, Abir, very rightly you pointed out, the issues of and how those people, those individuals basically worked out their life again, and the kind of resilience they showed in terms of like Kapil Sharma, Amitabh Bachchan, and other various people, Abdul Kalam Azad, Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad. They worked themselves. They showed some resilience. They showed their bounce back abilities, ability to come back. Which made them what they are today. Like keeping that in talk about the corporate perspective, I'm sure there's so many examples, of initiative taken by organizations towards building an innovative workforce, and the rich dividends they have earned as an outcome for them for us to see. Like take the case of Titan Jewelry business. We all know Tatas. Tatas are a bit innovative and pioneers in this, HR and human consultancy and leading their human resources. How do they do it? They created a famed innovation school of management for its supply chain division. You know that, and employees in terms works in impossible current and futuristic innovation challenge in front of the business. In a span of 20 weeks, teams navigate these challenges systematically to come up with breakthrough solutions and prototype them as well. These teams have thought of and executed possibilities which have left even the leading domain experts across the world speechless. This is what Titan has done, Titan Jewelry Business. They created a famed innovation school of management for its supply chain division. Employees in teams works on impossible current and futuristic innovations, challenges in front of the business. In a span of 20 weeks, teams navigate these challenges, systematically come up with breakthrough solutions and prototype them as well. These teams have thought of executive possibilities which have left the leading domain experts around the world speechless. So one team has created 420% jump in the productivity of a globally benchmarked manufacturing process in a first world another, triple the capacity of the plant without adding the manpower, and several such more orbit shifts were achieved. Now today more than 60% of the workforce are innovators. Can you believe it? And the innovation school has contributed significantly to the bottom line of the organizations. Like another example, Anand Group. Anand Group is a 1.2 billion USD auto component group. By Anand Group, right? It's based out of Delhi only. Gurgaon has a corporate office. There's institutionalized innovation, 7 group companies. Anand Group has created a robust innovation ecosystem where innovation happens by design. About 1,300 employees have been enabled to pursue innovation challenges ongoing basis. Like for every 6 years, KRA, each of these innovation champions takes one impossible innovation challenge. Innovation is a habit there. So that's how employees are also encouraged to take decisions at their own. The entrepreneurial mindset is there. That is where they're being encouraged for that. So coming back to you on this, how can you share a basic? Can you share a basic framework, including like measurement metrics or something for orbit shifting? Do you suggest something like that?
Right. I think I'll just share the screen.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Actually, there is it would be wrong to say that we are in a position to talk about a framework so early on, because we have just entered the topic of orbit shifting, and as we have already told you, orbit shifting is actually a concept that has come from the books, and obviously any framework that we set up has to be connected with that book. Okay, since we are not going so deep into it, and nor did we find any proper orbit shifting framework in the system, we are just sharing some thoughts and processes on the whole process as of now, and maybe over time we'll be able to build a framework, provided we don't get anything on the orbit shifting concept that has been released in the book itself. Okay, so typically, just for the thought, the simple thoughts that have come regarding what we have discussed in our program is typically an individual has a profile in an organization. Today he has a certain amount of profile, and he's unhappy with that profile, and he's looking at leaving the job because he's not happy with the profile. Here we is there a way that we can make him more excited about his role, more innovative creativity can be brought into his role, and whether he can have a long term stay in the organization if we look upon his role in a different way. So here is a small screen that we have put up, wherein we are saying that here is a mix and match of an organization innovation approach. In addition to his own self-discovery or ikigai, which we touched upon the previous program, wherein he finds that he is good at A, B, or C, and the organization innovation is also, building up an innovation pipeline or a system, and they all start exchanging ideas and see whether there is a common area in which the organization innovation and the individual's own interest areas match, and whether that can be built upon his current profile to see if he can gradually move into his desired profile. So that kind of gives you a certain amount of a roadmap as to how we can move from your current profile to a desired profile. As we have told you in the idea factory, that typically we expect our people to start with the JD that we have given, but over a period of 2 to 3 years, the JD should be about, only 40% or 30% of his overall profile, and the remaining 60 or 70% of the profile has to be built by him based on his own ikigai, as well as the organizational innovation initiatives that are going on in the organization. So it's a continuous process. It's a two-way street, and both should work together to ensure that the organization gains in the whole process. If you look at orbit shifting, while we are talking about the individual, the organization also, as we said, that it has to build up an open platform, which means that it cannot be, MD-driven closed methodology, and information moving or directions moving one way from top to the bottom level and not the other way around. So basically, organization also have to change their methodology of working, and thought leadership is one of the terms that we are using for organizations to engage in meaningful, creative, futuristic discussions with everyone in the organization, and to have an idea platform so that people can exchange ideas, and some of these ideas can be converted into projects, and these projects can be headed by the people within the organization, and so on. And then have an involvement or a success linked remuneration. So basically, you have multiple, the person can work in multiple teams, and these multiple teams can and the success of each of these projects can be linked to his own remuneration. So that gives him a great platform to play within the organization beyond the existing role. Similarly, the individual also has to do his own self discovery, or has to do his own ikigai, where he has to understand, this is the zone that I want to go in the near future, in the next 5 to 10 years, and this is the pathway that I want to do. And then through that process, he has to take up multiple roles within the organization, be defined by success, and ensure that he gets multiple income, or whatever, the income level that comes out of the whole process. So this is actually, again, as we told, that this is actually a two-way street where both the organization and the individual work together for the betterment of the organization. And the third process, or the third point that we want to say, is that the organizations have to go much beyond that. While the individual can definitely work on his capabilities, the organization has to go beyond that. In the last discussion, I remember Mr. Sharma has talked about DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. I thought I'll touch upon them today as a continuous process of this orbit shifting, because orbit shifting cannot happen until and unless organization stretches beyond the red. They also have built up an open platform. There have been a lot of effort to bring in diversity in organizations, and today, organizations are taking people of different race, ethnicity, global organizations, especially global organizations, and of course gender diversity also. Today, especially to touch upon the gender diversity, it is no more about the boy and the girl, or the man and the women, but it is also a large section of the people who fall in the LGBTQIA sector, who actually, have opened up as a community in India, and there is, acceptance of all these within the organization. So organizations actually have to have platforms where people have their voices. In fact, in June there will be this Pride Month, and several organizations in India have voiced the gender diversity in their organization. Then coming back to the equity and inclusion, equity is to have the processes and systems wherein every individual is impartial. In large organizations, and also in various places, we see the people of power, they can misuse the rules and misuse the laws, whereas the people at the lower end are actually, they have to follow the rules. So basically, we have to have an equity or an equitable policy making system, where every individual has to follow rules and regulations, or principles or values of the organization, and any violation at any level at any point may have to, a strict action can be taken against him. India has come a long way, but even today you can see there are so many headlines of all these things happening. Equity is still a long way to come, but yes, we are on the way. In terms of inclusion, as we have rightly said, just like we have got diversity, people have to belong to the organization, which means that once they are within the organization, they have to behave like a family. So every rule they have to have a, include them in important events, in important decisions, and important platforms, if they want to be part of something bigger beyond their role. So inclusion is very, very important at this point of view. On top of that, one or two roles that I want to put about is also that people evolve into varied roles beyond their existing role and see how we do it. One important point I want to raise here that today, after COVID, career break is a given. I mean, people should not frown. Before COVID, people used to hide those gaps in case there has been a career break. People actually had to hide those gaps, and whenever they would go to a new organization, they have to give an explanation why you have to have a career break. Why is it not continuous? As if life is just a perfect, phase to be in. We all know there can be possible career breaks, and whether organizations are looking at it in a real basis at this point in time. We also have to go beyond the organization, and there are some points that go in my mind also, because when you're talking of orbit shifting, while the organization individual can do something, the organization can stretch, but even as organization do something, the nation also has to stretch. And when we are talking of the nation, there are two thoughts that are still coming in my mind. I remember in 2017, the maternity break of married women was increased from 3 months to 6 months, and a lot of people welcome. And today it's a law that you have increased from 3 months to 6 months, which means that you'll be on a paid leave for 6 months, which is itself is a huge step for an organization, just because the government has given a policy. And the question was there with me then, and the question is there with me even today, that you have a maternity leave from 3 to 6 months, but with the additional increase of 3 months, who takes the extra tab of 3 months of the individual? Is it the company or is it the nation? Whereas logically, I think the company is taking it, but that question does not satisfy me, because if it's a policy made by the nation, it cannot come, the tab cannot come to the organization. Organization has its own freedom of follow 3 months, and the remaining 3 months should actually the tab should be taken by the nation. Okay, so that is one thought that stays with me over these last few years, and I thought, why not raise it up today? Even in terms of retirement, the question still lingers, because retirement age in most organizations 60 years, whereas we know the policy making, those who are making the policies, they are sitting in offices for 60 years, 70 years, 75 years, 80 years in the whole process. I mean, what are we talking about? Are we having a separate rule for organization where people are going to retire by 60 years, and people in positions of national importance, they are going to work for 75 years? We all know Lata Mangeshkar worked for so many years. Amitabh Bachchan is working for so many years. If you follow that rule for any of them, you are taking away 20 years of successful productivity from them, because they would not be allowed to work beyond 60 years. I mean, so are we looking at, so when you actually have to address these questions when you are talking about orbit shifting, because it goes much beyond the role of the organization. Also, when you are talking of the role content of people within the organization, of course, it has to be connected to, compensation. And when we are changing levels of individuals, obviously it automatically comes, does the salary increase beyond the regular increase? So if with all the work that I'm doing for the organization, to what extent the salary will increase? Now that we are unbundling the roles, so he can do multiple roles, are we going to unbundle the salary also? Are we going to allow the individual to have multiple stream of income within the same organization also? These are some of the questions that automatically come when you are actually taking up the topic of orbit shifting within an organization. I think these are some thoughts that I want to leave behind. And my next question to Mr. Sushant is, Mr. Sushant, can orbit shifting of employees ultimately enable orbit shifting of organizations, or vice versa?
Yes. Yes, your question is very valid and very relevant, also on point also. Like, I mean, see, organizations have not just reskilled or upskilled their workforce, they have fundamentally repurposed them. And how it's like, it's a mutual understanding. It's a growth of organization, it's a growth of an employee. Growth of an employee is a growth of an organization. Personal and professional, both the levels. See, quantum leaps achieved in these organizations cannot be achieved by an algorithm runner or machine. They were solely outcome of a passionate, creative human spirit. I'm talking about passion, I'm talking about creative human spirit, outcomes of innovative workforce. That's how they're created. Instead of letting innovation be accidental or personality centric, they have created a workforce who can make innovation happen by design. Instead of innovating being a creamy layer of a skill or limited to high performance, every employee achieve high performance through innovation. Every employee achieves through this orbit shifting. Innovation has become a norm of engagement with these organizations. Every business rides on factor of eternal assurance. Like a laundry business, deep unsaturated belief is that as long as there are human beings, they would clothe. As long as there are human beings, their clothing is going to be there. So laundry will run. Which would you need a wash cycle, assured and eternal continuity of business? Insurance, like it's life security. If we talk about insurance, it's life security. For automobiles, it's mobility. These factors of eternal assurance are anchored around the market needs, which are now would undergo massive change by time to time. The future of work, eternal assurance, which organizations should build and capitalize on innovation workforce. Such a workforce can never put an organization out of business, even if the entire business shut down. They would have already identified newer core opportunities and adjacent to the organizations. Now, what does this L&D function? If I talk about learning and development, which is very much relevant with orbit shifting, which will relate to personal and professional growth in an organization. See, L&D plays, learning and development plays a very critical role. Like often a thankless supplier role within the organization, mid-year performance reviews, identifying capability gaps, personalized training and plan interventions, like catering to specific requirements from business leaders. The service offered are cool and plenty. There's a consensus omnious among L&D fraternity among evolving to stay relevant and valuable. See, that's the idea. You have to stay relevant, you have to stay valuable to the company, and vice versa. Organization also has to keep on adding value to the lives of employees, their partners. They make them partners together to build the organization innovation capacity for business to successfully leverage the innovation opportunities. The role of L&D needs to undergo a technical shift, tectonic shift, if I talk about tectonic shift. Not just catalyst, evangelist, or partners, but strategists who understand the business I would like to call them. Architects who can influence and shape the business vision and innovation agenda, whose business and end market understanding is superior, who are able to create and catch market trends and influence the business to build an innovative capability needed for them cutting edge in the market. And the new role sounds cool too. So this is how it is. In the end, I would like to get back to you on how will stable and profitable organizations evolve through such initiatives? What is your thought on that? Quickly, if you can just wrap it up.
Right. I think we have come to the last leg of the discussion, and actually, whether this orbit shifting exercise will be able to build stable and profitable organization is the main question. First of all, we have to remember that whether orbit shifting helps the employed, which means who's working within the organization. It also helps the employer because the person is actually finding happiness in what he's doing and is not seeking alternative job. The amount of energy or the amount of resources being spent on that individual stays within the organization for the next 5 to 10 years in this whole process. And if you open up a communication, larger communication platform between the